On helping individuals identify and create the life they want instead of trying to identify what's wrong in their lives. His latest book is The Solution-Focused Marriage. In it, he reveals 5 simple habits that will bring out the best in your relationship. And he's on the line now. Elliott, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Elliott, I was reading a chapter of your book on your website last night and loved the story about how you met your wife.
Yes.
Tell our listeners how it happened.
Well, it's funny, we're supposed to bring that up.
You're still married, aren't you?
I am still married to the wonderful woman that is my wife.
Okay.
And, it happened just as I wrote it in the chapter. I was walking along my college campus, and I happened to notice my wife standing by a car, and I recognized her from a psychology class, and I thought, I'll start her over there and see what she's doing standing next to the car. And as it turned out, her battery had gone dead. She left her lights on while we were in class, and we struck up a wonderful conversation as we were waiting on her father to come give her car a jump. And that was the beginning of our relationship.
You were a smooth talker.
Always. Still am. Don't use past tense.
Now, when you counsel people on their marriage, based on your experience, can you quickly determine what's wrong in their relationship?
Perhaps I could, but I'm actually not trying to in the way that I work with couples. That's not what my brain is not thinking about what is wrong with their relationship.
Okay. So what are you thinking when you're counseling folks?
What's going on in my head actually when I'm counseling folks is 2 things. What does this couple want for their relationship, and in specifically, what does this couple want to come from this conversation with me? And number 2, what talents, skills, and traits do they have that could be utilized to make that want become a reality?
Now, you say in your book, couples who are able to spend time focusing on what's good between them in great detail tend to have the ability to get through the tough times and enjoy their relationships at a much higher degree. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, when we are aware of what our talents and skills and traits are, we're much more likely to be able to utilize them in times of turbulence. So if I'm aware of what makes me the right husband for my wife, and she's aware of what makes her the right wife for me, when a stressful event occurs, be it financial or driven by a child or work-related or whatever, we're likely to implement those strategies that hold each other up, as opposed to accidentally putting in place a strategy that tears each other down. It
sounds so simple, doesn't it?
It is. In fact, it's so simple it's complicated.
Explain what you mean.
Well, as human beings, we're really, really good at complicating things. We take simple ideas quite often and complicate them.
Yeah.
But Albert Einstein said himself that he didn't believe he was terribly intelligent. He thought his greatest gift was he could take complex ideas and make them simple so that his simple mind could do them. And this is just really, really simplifying things.
Now, Elliott, tell us some success stories of couples who have come to you, obviously unhappy in their relationship, but used your techniques and turned things around.
Right. Well, one couple in particular that stands out to me is a couple that I saw relatively recently. And this couple had, I find myself as a couple therapist in unusual circumstances when I work with couples, because you never really know what people are going to come into your office and say. And this particular couple, they came to my office, and I asked them the first question I typically ask people, which is, what are your best hopes from this conversation, so we can start orientating the conversation towards a solution, as opposed to what brought you into my office, which would orientate us towards problems. And, this couple then explained to me that they had just left the divorce proceedings, which finalized their divorce. Literally that morning, they had signed the papers to finalize their divorce. And I suppose I could have asked them, then, why are you here then?
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to orientate this couple towards success. So I asked, so what do we need to get accomplished today so we make you guys feel like this was useful? And we start talking about the best days of their relationship, like when their relationship was at its absolute highest. And the husband and wife start recounting these wonderful stories of the romantic times of their relationship and taking credit for those times. Like the husband had to really take credit for the fact that he helped contribute to those wonderful times, and and the wife had to really take credit for the fact that she helped contribute to those wonderful times. And they left my office holding hands. And a coworker said that he saw them outside in the parking lot kissing, and which I thought was odd, since that morning was the morning they finalized their divorce. I saw them the following week, and they said they had spent the whole week together. And now, again, they're divorced, so they're living in different homes. But they spent the whole week together. They scheduled another appointment, and again, we just practiced implementing these strategies that were present when their relationship was at its absolute best. The next week, they scheduled another appointment, and they canceled that appointment because they decided to take a trip together. When they came back, they told me they decided to rekindle their relationship, and they're still together to this day. And I probably met with that couple 4 times.
That's a great story. And all you did was focus on the solutions and not the problems.
Yes. Focus on the solutions and allow them to take credit for those solutions. As humans, we're so good at giving away credit, right? When we have a great day, someone says, like, why are you having a great day today? And you say, man, I don't know, I just woke up on the right side of the bed. But when we're having a bad day, we're like, why are you having a bad day? It's because I'm this mean, evil, horrible person. Like, we take credit for the faults, but we give away the successes. And in relationships, we do the same thing. When things are going really well, we just think, oh, well, we're just really clicking. But you're not really clicking. Like, you're doing things to make the relationship go well. When you identify those things in specific detail, then you can use them. And that's what couples do.
We're talking to Elliott Connie, whose latest book is The Solution-Focused Marriage. Now, Elliott, you talked, when you were talking to this couple, you talked about the best days of the relationship.
Sure.
When you get into a relationship, why do those best days seem to fade in a lot of marriages?
In my opinion, because we don't pay enough attention to them. When we get into what I call the honeymoon phase of the relationship, we're so filled with euphoria, and for good reasons, by the way, that we're not really paying attention to what am I doing that's helping this person fall for me, and what is this person doing to help me fall for them. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of riding the wave, and we don't anticipate that it will ever end because it's such a good feeling. But when we start to, even if you can do it looking backwards, when you look back to the happiest time of your relationship, you begin to realize, like, oh my goodness, I did things to help facilitate the growth of this relationship. And the natural thought is, what would happen if I did it now? And the outcome would be the same. The formula is the formula. So if taking care of my wife when she was my girlfriend helped her become my wife, then it stands to reason that taking care of her today in the time of stress would be helpful.
Yeah, I keep getting back to how simple it seems.
Yeah,
it's not complicated.
No.
Now, can you give our listeners some tips for getting out of the relationship rut and reigniting the passion with one's partner?
Absolutely. If you find yourself in a relationship rut, then I would implore people to think about when the relationship was at its highest point of passion and vigor and excitement, and think, what were you doing to create that opportunity in your relationship? Then I'd like you to think about what was your partner doing that you were able to notice that clued you into the fact that they were also enjoying this time of excitement and strength and vigor and passion. And do one simple thing based upon what you remember. Don't try to recreate the whole environment, but just do one simple thing. And I can tell you a really quick story about that.
Sure, go ahead.
A friend of mine, he used to take his wife out for dinner when they were dating in college. Well, they get married, and they have kids and, combined bank accounts and all that stuff. And he took her out to dinner. He took his wife out to dinner, just a regular dinner, wasn't romantic, anything like that, just a regular dinner. Now, in their relationship, the wife is the one that managed all the money, and all of the money went into a joint account. So the accidental habit that took place in this relationship is the wife began to use her card to pay for all the meals. So this time when they were at a dinner, the wife she was digging through her pocketbook, and the husband, my friend, reached in his wallet, pulls out his card and pays for the meal, and it melted his wife. And he asked, why are you responding like that? He said, because this reminds me of when we were in college and we used to date, because of the act of him paying. So that one simple thing triggered a sense of passion and positivity in the wife, because it brought her back to a time when the relationship was at its absolute best.
Connie, couples therapist and author of The Solution-Focused Marriage. And Elliott, during the commercial break, we got an email from Andrea who says, relationships are like babies. It needs nurturing every day. Do something nice for your partner every day. Couples often forget the simple please and thank yous to each other. She says, I'm on a 26-year honeymoon. That's excellent.
What's that?
I say that's excellent.
That is absolutely excellent. I love hearing stuff like that. And I think she's dead on. Like those little things, those simple pleases and thank yous makes a world of difference.
Now, in your experience, communication, I know, since I've been married twice, is a big part of a relationship.
Absolutely, yes.
Talk about that.
Well, first of all, when I hear communication, it's the number one thing that people come into my office saying they'd like to get out of being in a couples therapy setting. But again, I think people kind of underestimate their own ability to do things. Like kind of a goofy, maybe even humorous story is people will say things to me like, my husband and I absolutely cannot communicate. We can never communicate. And I always think in my head that that must be untrue because you are here at the same time doing something together. So in order for that to be true, you had to agree on a therapist you would see, you had to coordinate schedules, you had to get on the same page about when the session would be and all of those things. But we did all of that magic without realizing it was magic. And part of the solution-focused process is identifying what we call exceptions. So exceptions are time when the problem is not happening. So we identify these exceptions, so there actually was a time when you guys communicated well, and we amplify it. Like, how did you do it? What did you do to make sure that happened? And what did you do to make sure that, even though it's just a little silly thing about when the therapy appointment would happen, what did you do to ensure that you would be on the same page about which therapist you would see and when you would see them? And people's eyes light up because they realize, like, holy cow, I actually do this properly most of the time. And then we start the ball rolling of practice, practice, practice. Another thing I think is really important about communication, and that email kind of speaks to it a little bit, the better job we do of being kind in our relationship, then inherently the better job we do of communicating. In order to communicate well, I just have to believe that the person that I'm communicating with thinks positively of me. The number one ingredient to effective communication. The person I'm talking to thinks positively of me. So the best way to ensure that your partner knows you think positively of them is do those little things, the pleases, the thank you, and by gosh, the compliment. Don't take the good things of your partner for granted. You have to tell them that you think that they're wonderful every single time you notice they're wonderful, and then you can be on a 27-year honeymoon like that emailer was referring to.
Yeah, right. There's another email here from Don. It says, curious, in my life, I have the experience of partners turning the relationship above them, not the partner accepting the relationship in itself.
Right.
It says, I believe the relationship needs to be honored as the greater good for the two involved, and it is the partner's role to fan the flames. He says, any thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with that the relationship should be about the greater good. And in one of the chapters of my book, I talk about how relationships should have a goal. They should have a plan. They should have a direction that they're heading in. And both partners should be working towards the creation of that goal. And very often, couples don't. We're just kind of going about the coupleship without realizing where we're going, which sometimes accidentally triggers people to enact selfish strategies because in the absence of a conjoint strategy, as humans, we typically default to our own selfish strategy. And couples should be overt about that. They should have conversations and talks about what we'd like to be doing and what we're building in our relationship.
Interesting. It's not about, it's not a financial goal. It's a relationship goal.
It's a relationship goal, absolutely. If we have a goal, if we're both on the same page that we want to retire by the age of 45, then I'm likely to judge your habit of taking some of my check and putting it in our savings account as a strategy to make our goal happen. But if we don't have that goal, or at least if that goal is not overt, I'm likely to experience you as controlling me and not trusting me with my own money. And those things lead to fight and argument. But if we're aware of what our goals are, then I'm likely to perceive your actions as congruent to the accomplishment of that goal.
Elliott, how important is self-deprecating humor in a relationship?
I think humor is important.
Yeah.
They're not as self-deprecating. It depends on the individual.
Yeah.
But we have to laugh. I think laughter is the most amazing thing in the world. We should laugh a lot, actually.
Now, in your counseling, do you ever tell some couples they're better off apart?
No, never. That would be like a dentist telling somebody in their chair that they're better off without teeth. You came here for work on your relationship, so I'm going to work on your relationship.
We're talking to Elliott Connie. He's the author of The Solution-Focused Marriage. You've told us some interesting stories about couples and relationships that couples who have come to you and you've saved their relationship. Now, I notice on your website that you're going to travel to Switzerland, Sweden, and Denmark at the end of this month.
Yep.
Is there any difference in relationships around the world in terms of we're all human beings and we all have the same problems?
That's a really good question. This past summer, I was doing some therapy while I was visiting friends and colleagues and doing some work in London. And, I think human beings, we're more similar than we are dissimilar. And we all have the same goals and drives and hopes for our relationships. And we all struggle with the same patterns that cause disruptions to our relationships. So I'd have to say no. Like, relationships, as long as they involve people, they're going to involve people issues.
It's interesting when you talk about dealing with the positives instead of the negatives. I mean, that can apply to all aspects of our lives, not only relationships, can it?
I would totally agree. Yeah, I think successful people have a tendency to remember their successes and their strengths than they do their failures and their flaws.
Right. Elliott, it was great to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you so very much.
I appreciate it. We're talking to Elliott Connie, couples therapist and author of The Solution-Focused Marriage.
You never...
As someone who's been married twice, obviously I'm a little late.
Well, you never phone me to let me know whether you're going to be home for dinner or not. And,
Are you reliving some of your past relationships?
No, I'm just talking about the relationship we have as workers and broadcasters here together. You don't know. You never tell me when I'm going to be able to get on the air and promo my show.
No,
or do anything like that. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, you and Corey. I mean, this.
They don't bring me into this.
Yeah, I'm bringing you into this. This is you gang up. This is a conspiracy. You're just ganging up on everybody here. That's what you do. You're Mr. Powerhouse, and you're up until 3:00, and I walk in the studio.
Saying you're out of control.
What brought this on? What did I do?
I thought you were going to keep the counselor on. We could have got this solved, but you didn't do it.
He says to work on solutions instead of problems.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So
you want?
Are you the expert on this?
You want me out of here? Yeah.
I know.
That's right.
Do you want to doodle 6 tonight? Go ahead. I got all the stuff right here.
Doodle 6, 5 hours?
Yeah, well, you can do that.
I could do that.
Listen, sure.
Don't get any bright ideas, buddy.
Speaking about bright ideas, I have a young lady who's coming in who's invented a flashlight.
Invented a flashlight?
Invented a flashlight that runs on just body heat. And she is going down to the Google Science Fair tomorrow from Victoria, and she's going to get a chance to win a $50,000 prize.
Oh, good for her.
It's a hollow flashlight powered by the heat from the user's hand.